The Miami Dolphins sitting at 3-7 are not having the best season, but it could start to turn around because they may very well have a rising star, a hidden gem in cornerback Juju Brents. This was a player that was not drafted by Miami. Hell, wasn't even signed by the Miami Dolphins. Remember how he got here? Well, if not, I'll tell you. He was waived by the Indianapolis Colts on a roster cutdown day in late August, and Miami actually claimed him on waivers. So clearly a player that they viewed very positively in a potential future here in Miami. Former second-round pick in the 2023 draft out of Kansas State. Remember Cam Smith, 2023 second-round pick. And the real intrigue with Brents here is his physicality, his size, and his athleticism. 6'3", 200, 4.53 40-yard dash when coming out in the Combine 3 years ago. And he had a really good start to his career. He was a starter for the Indianapolis Colts as a rookie, but then battled injuries over the last couple of years, and Indy ultimately decided to cut bait and wipe their hands clean. But Miami claimed him, and he was absolutely phenomenal in his first opportunity getting real playing time with the Miami Dolphins. I mean, coming into this past Sunday against the Bills, he played about 50 snaps all year. He logged 52 and was the starting corner on the boundary opposite of Jack Jones. And he certainly paid off the decision for Mike McDaniel and defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver. He was targeted 5 times, only allowed 2 receptions for 12 yards. Had a really solid PBU over the middle of the field and had a QB rating of targeted of 47.9. But the part that was really impressive to me, he had Keon Coleman on absolute clamps. Now, I think Keon Coleman stinks, but he's a 6'3", 6'4" wide receiver that specializes in contested catch opportunities. And that is why the Bills drafted him at pick, I believe, 33 overall just 2 years ago. He was the 2024 draft pick. So this is his second season, someone that was highly thought of as the first pick in the second round. Yet he was unable to separate, and Juju Brents had him on straps all game long. More coming up here, but make sure you go follow me over on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff as my handle. Tweeting about Dolphins football every single day. Go follow me for more on the Fins. But Juju Brents was really impressive, not only in just our eyes and in against the game with Buffalo, but Pro Football Focus, who grades out every single player, every single snap, every single game on a week-to-week basis. They ranked Juju Brents so high this week. And now this is entering Monday Night Football. Want to make that very clear. So don't know if a player on Philadelphia or Green Bay ultimately surpassed this as we're filming this on our live show Monday. But he was the 4th overall graded corner in that and coverage. And he had the 21st best QB rating when targeted, that 47.9 number I just showed. To me, he just needs to play more. And we could talk about how Miami may rattle off some wins here with a relatively easy schedule over the next 3 weeks. But the truth is this. At this stage in the season, when you're 3-7, the number one goal for the rest of the year is to evaluate talent and assess what you have on your roster currently. That is the number one goal. I want to see what Kenneth Grant could do. I want to see what Jordan Phillips can do. I want to see what Chop Robinson could do. These young defenders that you want to see if they could be building blocks of this team, not just the rest of the season, but going forward into the next years and beyond. And that's why Brents needs to play. He's 25, former second-round pick. I want to see if he can stamp himself as a potential starting corner in this league. And Mike McDaniel kind of recognized that. On Monday's press conference, he said that when players take advantage of the opportunity, they generally get more opportunities. He put on a display of why he's here. He's earned more time on the field. Now, you hear that from Mike McDaniel, and if you're an optimistic person like me, sometimes that's a joke, I'm not optimistic, that you think, okay, Juju Brents is going to continue to play. This is what we want to see. But you also have to factor in Rasul Douglas. The reason why Brents was even on the field, because he missed the game, is returning this week against the Washington Commanders. So where does Juju Brents' playing time come from? That's where it gets a little bit hairy, and we'll take a look at that here in a second. But be the coach. Do you want to play Juju Brents more as the season progresses here? Type Y for yes or type N for no. Pin comment on today's show So let me know your thoughts. But I want to emphasize this point as well. What do the best organizations in the NFL do on a consistent week in, week out basis? They are able to find productive young talent in all different capacities, whether it is in the draft, whether it is in free agency, whether it is on the trade market, whether it is on waivers. Good organizations are able to bring in young talent and turn them into productive players with their high valued coaching staff. And to me, when you look at some other guys here, you need to see what you have in Juju Brents. You need to see what you have in Jack Jones. You need to see what you have in Jordan Phillips. Like, play these young guys that are currently on one-year contracts, on rookie contracts, to see if they can become building blocks of your defense going forward. That's what good organizations do. And the reason why Brents is so intriguing is because of that size, because of that athleticism, and the physicality he plays with. He is not afraid to be mixed up in the run game whatsoever. And I think you saw a perfect example of that with Miami just honing in on James Cook and not letting him escape. The front did excellent jobs, but you also saw the corners and Minkah Fitzpatrick really step up and make some elite tackles in the run game. Brents, even Jack Jones, Fitzpatrick, all tackled extremely well. Brents recovered that fumble that Jack Jones forced on that James Cook carry late in the first half as the Bills were driving to preserve that first half shutout. Brents got on the ground, on the middle of that dog pile, and secured the football. This young cat, literally, Wildcat from Kansas State, is a really intriguing guy to build upon. And he is kind of a guy that you can use in specialty situations as well. His size and physicality allows him to be very versatile defensively. You want to have him defend a big-bodied X receiver on the outside like Keon Coleman or like a Keyshawn Boutte in New England? Oh, he could do that relatively well, I think. You want him to potentially match up in the nickel against tight ends? I think he could do that really well. Like, he defended, for the most part yesterday, Dalton, Kincaid, and Keon Coleman. Those were his two matchups yesterday. When he was in coverage, it was mostly on Coleman and Kincaid. And both of them did nothing. Now, Kincaid left the game in the third quarter with that hamstring injury, but my point still remains the same. This is a guy that when you watch his tape from this game on Sunday, you see the fluidity that he plays with, the athleticism, the range, the size. Yeah, he's listed at 6'3", 200. Tell you what, this guy's bigger than that. Because Iafatu Melifonwu was listed at 210, and Juju Brents looks way bigger than him. I love it. Can't get enough of Juju Brents. I need him on the field more this upcoming Sunday. But I mentioned it's going to be difficult to get him on the field because Rasul Douglas is going to return for this game on Sunday against the Washington Commanders. And it's not like you can just not play Rasul Douglas. I mean, he's been your best corner all year long, and he's been a top 15 graded corner by Pro Football Focus all year long, from weeks 2 through 9 when he's been a starter every single week. So it becomes a little hairy for McDaniel and Anthony Weaver to find a way to play all of these guys like Jack Jones, like Brents, like Rasul Douglas, like a rookie in Jason Marshall Jr., who you drafted in the 5th round. How are you going to play all these guys? Because you're not going to have them all on the field at the same time. It becomes difficult. More coming on that here in a second, but make sure to subscribe to the channel. News, rumors every single day. 3 live shows a week as well. Subscribe and turn on notifications to join the family. Like, this is where your cornerback room looks right now. Douglas and Jack Jones are probably going to go back to their starting spot. But you have Brents as that backup CB1 to Rasul Douglas. And then you have Ethan Bonner and Jason Marshall Jr. as the quote-unquote backups to Jack Jones. And there's one name in particular here that should not see the field again this season unless an injury occurs. And that is Ethan Bonner. I know a lot of people have been intrigued with him. White corner, always going to make people's eyes pop. So, I mean, that's the God's honest truth here. Coop's laughing behind the screen. But The truth is, you see a white corner out there because it's such a unicorn. You want to see him more and you want to see him succeed. But the truth is, he isn't very good. And we've seen this now for 2 years plus. He doesn't crack. Like, I would rather play, obviously, Douglas, Jack Jones, Brents, and Jason Marshall Jr. over Ethan Bonner. Like, Bonner came in on this Sunday's game against the Bills, played 5 snaps. Played 5. And in those 5 snaps, Josh Allen went right after him. No hesitation. Saw Ethan Bonner in the game. All right, let's run a fade route to Keon Coleman. 35-yard touchdown. So it's like Juju Brents comes out or isn't lined up against Keon Coleman for one play, and it's a 35-yard touchdown because Ethan Bonner doesn't have the right technique, kind of got a little frazzled with the ball in the air, and got beat on the back shoulder Keon Coleman ball. Like, he just should not be playing anymore. And the Dolphins, I think, have a good enough secondary pieces right now with all of the players we've talked about so far on this episode to where you should not see Ethan Bonner anymore. And you have 5 corners. You might make one of them inactive on game day. It should be Ethan Bonner. You should only have 4 active corners every week. Douglas, Brents, Marshall Jr., and Jack Jones. And Juju Brents has gotten the healthy and active designation a lot this year. Should absolutely not happen again this year. Should not happen. More coming, but get your salute to service gear. Listen, entire month of November is salute to service, support the troops. Chatsports.com/Dolphin Salute. You can get a hat, you can get a hoodie, you can get a shirt, you can get anything you want over at chatsports.com/Dolphin Salute. Links in the description and comments of today's video. Grab yours today before the month of November wraps up. You might have building blocks at corner. Now, do I believe that Juju Brents and Jack Jones could be your CB1 and CB2 of the future? No, I think that would be a little overreactionary and naive to believe that. But I mentioned it earlier. Brents is only 25. Jack Jones is 27. They're both on one-year deals. Why not re-sign them on cheap one-year contracts? Because I can't imagine other teams really eyeing them. And they could be your depth pieces. Like, if you brought back both Jack Jones and Juju Brents next year, and they play well in the home stretch of the season, and they be your CB2 and CB3, with the 5th-round rookie, Jason Marshall Jr., being your CB4, and then you just draft a corner in the 1st or 2nd round of this year's draft, or sign one in free agency to be your CB1, like, now you're starting to put together a really good cornerback room that has youth, it has upside. Like, I'm feeling optimistic about it. And I talked about the number one thing that I'm looking for the rest of the way being how Kenneth Grant, Chop Robinson, and Jordan Phillips develop on that defensive line as young puppies who could really develop into a nice collective unit. Number 2 is this corner room. Because if Jack Jones and Juju Brents get more and more playing time and they continue to provide good results and play good coverage and defend the run well, even with the season out of hand, well, that tells you that these guys could be starters on a team that is competitive next season. And that makes me very interested with what we have here in this room. So I'm feeling optimistic about it. You got youth. Jack Jones has gotten better every week. Brents has gotten better every week. Like, let's see what these young cats got, man. It sucks. I don't want to bench Rasul Douglas, but, like, you have to think about it. But the issue is he's been so good. That'll do it for today's show. You have more thoughts on the Dolphins? You can always DM me, reply to my tweets over at Nic_Rohloff. My handle, want to create a larger Dolphins following over there, so go and join me.